The rest of the months are for bars. September, October, November, December. And I am a member.
Welcome to another episode of Heated Conversations. I am so honored that you decided to tune in. I'm very excited to have this guest. We go all the way to the University of Missouri with associate head coach Whitney Snowden. I'm super excited again to talk to her and discuss all things Mizzou. So let's welcome Whitney to the podcast. Whitney, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. All right, to start off, I've asked this question in the past. So if you can go see anybody live in concert, dead or alive, who would you go see? And then who would you take with you?
Oh, goodness. Well, my partner for sure, Eric, we're engaged. So he is definitely my ride or die. He's coming with me no matter where I go. And we're big Chris Stapleton fans. So I know he's not maybe most iconic yet, but we love and enjoy his music. So we would probably go see Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the engagement.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, I think music is such a huge part of what we do. And gymnastics is a huge part, right? We've seen a lot of viral floor routines go around that ties into music. If anybody has been to NCAA or just any type of sports event, music is a huge part of it. And so I think those are things that connect people. And it's a question I like to lead off with because it allows certain people to kind of get to know a little bit about you, like what type of personality maybe you like based off of the music. And kind of talking about personality, what would you say is your type of personality? Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? Like, how would you describe Whitney?
It really depends on what I'm doing. I have a little bit of both sides, and I love that about myself. I can definitely host a great party or, host a big visit, or I can be totally okay just on my couch, relaxing and recovering, resting with my two dogs and with Eric. So I can do a little bit of everything, which is nice because I can just kind of fit in where I needed.
Yeah. And everybody has a story. Everybody started somewhere. Can you kind of talk about your story from a child to now? Like, what got you into the sport? Were you a gymnast yourself? And then how did that lead you into where you're at Mizzou?
Sure. Well, I have two sisters. We are close in age. So we growing up, we're always kind of running around. We grew up on a horse farm. We were fortunate to just have space and always into something. And I think my mom kind of just got tired of us running around and causing ruckus constantly. So she said, okay, it's time for us to choose. What do you guys want to get into? And I believe it was around the Olympics. And obviously there's a huge uptick in just enrollment in the Olympics with publicity. And so my younger sister and I decided we wanted to be gymnasts, and my older sister wanted to be an ice skater. But ice skating didn't line up with when the kind of session started. So she started in gymnastics as well. And that was, I was 8, which is pretty late in the game. I think a lot of gymnasts tend to start, between 5 and 6 years old. So starting out as an 8-year-old, had a little catching up to do. Was an average athlete as far as gymnasts are concerned. Definitely very brave. I would kind of try anything, but maybe not with the best form and execution, which now as a coach, obviously is a number one priority is form and execution. So kind of funny how that's full circle.
And I think some of the best coaches are the ones who had to go through a development process themselves, where they may not have been the most talented. Like you had characterize yourself as an average gymnast. And I think sometimes it does, because you have to go and search a little bit deeper for those answers to how to finally apply a principle or to execute a skill. And you're able to also understand what somebody else is going through, where if it came easy to you, it's very hard for you to relate to them, be like, just do it, right? And that tends to sometimes be the answer that could happen in coaching if you yourself didn't go through it. So I think that's super, super cool that you had those opportunities. Now, when it comes to college gymnastics, were you at the level where you were able to compete college? And if you did or didn't, what university did you attend?
So I was not a college athlete. I competed through level 8, and then I had an injury. I broke my back, and that was obviously very traumatic and um, just a kind of a low point in my athletic career. But it was also the beginning of my coaching career. And to your point of not being just able to show athletes how to perform a skill or do a skill, I really had to kind of search and educate myself on those progressions and those steps to make sure that my athletes really understood what they were trying to accomplish. So a lot of education, a lot of camps and clinics, and just researching and YouTube and watching drills and asking questions to other coaches. I was fortunate to work at Cincinnati Gymnastics for 8 years under Lee Tracy, and she is an incredible clinician. She kind of operates on inspiring belief in others, and she truly inspired me to believe in myself that I could be a great coach and I could get my point across and help these young women kind of develop into the athletes that they want to be. But it's through communication. If you can't do the skills for your athletes. So you need to make sure that they truly understand, all parts of their skills and kind of what to do if this goes wrong, how do I safely kind of get out of the skill or get out of the pass? And I think really just honing in on my communication styles and just making sure that I'm able to clearly explain the expectations has helped me as a coach.
Yeah. And how do you feel about the Midwest producing a lot of great coaches? Because it seems like if you think about some of the programs, at least in gymnastics, and who's ahead of those programs or the success and the ties that they have, a lot of them have ties back to the Midwest. So can you kind of talk about, the Midwest culture of coaching that allows so much success out of the coaches to be able to go to different places and replicate some of the stuff they probably did with their athletes?
Sure. Well, I think it comes down to just working together. Region 5 is kind of that traditional Midwest region for gymnastics, and Region 5 prides itself on working together. We do a lot of camps and clinics and we share knowledge constantly and just how can I help you, or this is what I do, and really being generous with that information and that knowledge, because at times I feel like coaches can say, oh, I don't want to give them this drill, or I don't want to give this little piece of insight because that's my competition. But in reality, those are just words. And if you can't day to day put those words into action, it doesn't matter how many drills you've been given or seen or watched, right? It's that application day in and day out that truly makes a team. So Region 5 did a really good job in my upbringing of just continuing to pass down knowledge and just work together to develop the best athletes we could so that we could be, competitive on a national scene.
And, talking about your college, experience, or not college experience, sorry, your club experience, did you really enjoy your club experience? Was it something that you were excited to go into the gym every day or even majority of the days to come in and practice? And then what did you feel when you had to leave the sport due to an injury?
Mm-hmm. Well, as a young child, essentially, you take for granted those instances. You don't really realize what you have at the think I did take for granted some of those day in and day out because I had such valuable resources at my fingertips. And today's resources are a little different as a collegiate coach, but being able to go to the National Team Training Center each month and work with top coaches and athletes and just learn from one another, that's something that's different once you're in the college realm. So I think I really appreciate my upbringing and appreciate my path to college gymnastics, because being a club coach has really helped me be able to problem solve in college athletics. Not if a kid gets hurt, but when an athlete gets hurt or when they're sick or when they're coming back from something, and having those foundational skills to build them back up and help them get back to where they were or even beyond. That's the goal, is to have them doing their best gymnastics here, their senior year when they walk across the stage.
Yeah. And then how did you get from working at Cincinnati or working with Lee Tracy to your first collegiate coaching opportunity?
So I was at Cincinnati for 8 years, like I mentioned, and coached anywhere from level 4 all the way through elite. I was traveling quite a bit and just kind of got burnt out I realized that I was ready for the next step. I've always been a teacher. I was initially in school to be an elementary education teacher and realized I love teaching, but not in a school setting. So there was a little bit of a gap there where I did not finish my undergrad right away. And because I was so passionate about coaching, and then I kind of got to the other end where I realized I needed something a little bit more. So I went back to school. And during that time, I started doing camps and clinics and really just traveling around wherever there was a need, wherever I felt like I could help out or learn or just take in opportunities. I think being a club coach, we get in that day-to-day grind where, it's Monday through Saturday, all day, every day, and you don't have a lot of time for yourself. So I was fortunate to be able to take a break from club coaching, go back to school, and really just travel and fall back in love with the sport a little bit and figure out what I wanted deep down. And that was to help a team, pursue a collegiate championship. Working with college athletes, obviously they're adults. I'm not asking them to do things they don't want to do. They're intrinsically motivated. They know what's at hand, and they know that they've got a short timeline to accomplish those goals. So being able to help guide them and not necessarily, I don't want to say encourage, because you're always encouraging as a coach, but helping them kind of be the number two, let them kind of drive, and then I'm going to help guide them through their process. That's been really rewarding for me.
Yeah. And can you walk us through your timeline of your collegiate coaching opportunities?
Sure. I started coaching at Michigan State. I was hired in 2019 and was there for 3 seasons, which was challenging. I learned so much at Michigan State. It was a huge opportunity for me, and I loved being in East Lansing. COVID was tough in Michigan. COVID was tough for everyone, but in Michigan especially, my first year we were in quarantine more than, we weren't. And so really just finding ways to connect with the athletes and just grow as a person and as a coach without being in the gym in a traditional sense was kind of a good I won't say pause, but just kind of just like an even moment for me. And I learned a lot about myself and the kind of coach that I wanted to be. And then in 22, Shannon Welker, our head coach here at Mizzou, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to bring you on an interview. I want you to come." And I was at first really, really excited and flattered and just up for it, but not knowing much about the university. To be honest, I don't think I'd ever been to the state of Missouri before my interview. And he said, "Hey, just come down, just come check it out." And I'm so glad that I did, because Mizzou is one of those places that you have to see it. You got to be on campus to really understand what it feels like to be a Tiger. And from the moment I stepped on campus, it was home. And I know that sounds so cliche. And, a lot of people say that's what I'm looking for my home. I'm looking for a family. And that's what it felt like to me. I felt very safe. I felt very welcomed. People here are really passionate about helping other people. They take a lot of pride in whatever their segment or sector of the university is. And I love that. I wanted to be a part of that right away.
I love it. Now, this is a kind of a sensitive topic, but you're in the world of elite and you're at Michigan State, especially right after gymnastics kind of was going through a very, very hard time, right? Can you kind of talk about being at Michigan State and being you and creating a different environment, because you were part of that almost immediate staff that had to handle the Larry Nassar situation, especially at Michigan State. Can you kind of talk about what you brought to the athletes and to that program after a situation like that?
I did. I joined Michigan State staff about 2 years post Nassar, and obviously you are helping do the best you can for the athletes. Fortunately for me, I did not cross paths with some of those team members that were on the team at that time. So I had an opportunity, kind of a fresh slate perspective, where I could come in and we could just focus on gymnastics. We didn't need to talk about anything else. We didn't need to, and not that we weren't there to support if athletes did want to, discuss things, but we were able to kind of shift it, and we were able to start moving forward and get back on track and being really, really competitive in the sport of gymnastics, and just realigning our priorities and making sure that we were getting closer again to our goals. And so it was nice. I actually welcomed that challenge of, hey, I can help this team. I can help continue to just motivate them and get them back to why they came to Michigan State in the first place. So I was happy to do that.
Yes, and they've had some great success in the recent years and stuff like that, which I'm sure you're a part of that, and bringing some of the experiences that you had from Cincinnati over there. And And I really ask that, not really to kind of always go back into history, but I think it's important to understand for the viewers and listeners to understand how could someone who, you know, who understood the trauma that happened there, that, to step in and to be a light, right? And most, it was obviously headlines and stuff like that. And it could be nerve-wracking for someone to come into a situation like that and feel all this pressure, right? And feel like, can I handle, the pressure that could be tied to that, right? And if someone didn't know how long you've been there and all this other stuff, and they assume, hey, you're tied in with Michigan State and all this other stuff happened, I think it speaks a lot about you as a person or anybody who steps into a situation where they come in and, before their time, something was hard, and to be able to create something and especially turn it around and have success at that same place. Um, so that was the main purpose in me asking, that question. And, now that you're at Mizzou, can you kind of talk about, how you took your experiences at Michigan State, your experiences at Cincinnati, and brought it to Mizzou to hopefully be able to bring them to what you are wanting to, a national championship, at Mizzou, and being in the SEC, it's obviously a tough conference to be in. You have the reigning national champions that are, part of that conference, as well as you have top teams who are, always in the running, like Florida, who have a lot of great athletes, and you have Alabama, you have Auburn, you have a ton of, competitive programs that are there, Arkansas as well, that are competing for those same goals. So can you kind of talk about your experiences that you had at both Cincinnati and Michigan State, and how you're bringing it to Mizzou?
Sure. Well, at Michigan State, first and foremost, Mike and Nicole have done a great job leading that program. They've worked really, really hard to be what the team needs there. And I was so glad to join that staff for the 3 years that I was there. Like I said, I learned a lot about that. I think taking my experience, as a first-time college coach, moving to my second institution, and just realizing that each team is different. And, in club, it's so easy to, raise an athlete from like level 4 to level 10, and they get used to responding the same way and standing the same way and being dismissed and thank you coaches and those just little kind of non-negotiables. And so when I first went to Michigan State, I had a bit of a learning curve because I didn't realize, obviously but you don't really know until you're in that moment of how different college athletes all are. They come from different corners, they come from different gyms and backgrounds, and that's one of the things that we value the most here at Mizzou is how diverse our team is. But when I first went to Michigan State, I did struggle a little bit of like, hey, this is not club. They aren't, they don't want to be talked to the same way. They don't want to be coached the same way. And I needed to take a half step back and really do a better job that very first year. My second and third year, you figure it out. You get a little bit better at that. But that first year, it was tough because I wanted to come in and I wanted to do such a good job, but I missed that step of like building those relationships my very first semester there. And of course, like when I'm the kind of person where if I get hired to do something, like I want to do a great job. There's only one way to do it and it's the right way. And I really want to give my best effort at anything that I do. And so that's what I was trying to do. But again, I missed that step of connecting with these adults. They had been through previous assistant coaches. They had been through, previous guidance, and my leadership style was different. And so when I was hired at Mizzou, I made a point to really connect with our athletes and really kind of just help them understand what my motivation was for how I was leading workouts and how I was setting these goals and these standards for them, and not just expecting it, taking the time to slow down and talk to them and get their input and, value their pieces and their experiences, because without that relationship, you can only push an athlete so far. You can only motivate an athlete so far. And so with each gym that I've worked in, with each club or university that I'm associated with, I feel like I've developed myself as a leader. And that's kind of helped me get closer with our team members. And the closer you are, I really do feel like the more you can motivate and push your athletes.
Yeah, I love it. And can we talk about like where Mizzou is? Like you had mentioned, a lot of people may not know, and you have to get on campus to really find out, right? If people who are watching football, it's football season right now. Mizzou's having a great season, right? And so we'll kind of discuss what that has done to the university and what that could translate to the other sports, even gymnastics, and the energy or even attention that is getting that Mizzou is probably getting because of football. A lot of times, if football is doing well, they're noticed a little bit more, and maybe it gives opportunities for other sports to kind of be highlighted a little bit. But can you start off by talking about where are you guys located, and what type of town is it? Is this the city that you guys reside in a college town, or is it just a town that happens to have a college in it?
Sure. So we are in Columbia, Missouri, which is directly in the middle of St. Louis and Kansas City. We're about an hour and 40 minutes from St. Louis and about 2 hours from Kansas City. Both are major airports, which is nice. It makes getting to Columbia easier. We have a regional airport here, but it is pretty small. Columbia is a college town. It's actually one, top 20 college towns, and it's a very safe place. It's a densely populated. There's about 135,000 people that live in Columbia. There's about 36 undergrad students at Mizzou. So a good size university, but there's so much enthusiasm on campus, not just for football, but we have 20 D1 sports, and each of those sports is really doing a great job of inching closer to those NCAA championships. Our wrestling team is great. Softball and volleyball were fantastic last season. So great not to just see your traditional football and basketball doing well, but to also see some of those Olympic sports and female sports doing well on campus. It just brings a lot of pride and excitement to anybody who wears an oval tiger head on their chest.
Yeah. And having those two other major cities that are close, do people have to go, like if I'm an athlete there or if I'm a student there, do I have to go to one of those cities to be able to get things that I need, both entertainment, if I want to, go see a show or go see a concert, or I want to just go hang out in town for the day? Is there a downtown where I can go hang out and I can, place to socialize with friends, or, things to do, like if I want to go to Top Golf, or, is it a town that provides all those things that, any young student or young athlete would want to experience?
It's awesome. Our downtown is actually adjacent to campus, so it's very walkable. It makes being on campus, you're on campus, and it is kind of I'll say like sectioned off, meaning that we don't have through traffic. We don't have cars driving through. If you're on campus because you're a student or you're a faculty member or an athlete in some capacity, but our downtown is right there. So, tons of restaurants, tons of shops. It's actually, there's a lot to do in Columbia. We host over 10 different festivals a year, which I didn't realize that. And so there's always something kind of, I won't say random, but unique going on, whether that's a concert. We host a lot of concerts here on campus, just having big spaces to do so. But St. Louis and Kansas City, those are, it's fun for our team to do like day trips. They like to go to the city for day trips. But Columbia, I'm happy about, because I have been in some other college towns, especially in the SEC, where it's like you're on campus and then you're in the cornfields. And that is not Columbia, Missouri at all. And I think that's something that people are so surprised. They get to campus and they're like, wow, this is great. There's so much to do. And I said, I know, you just have to get here to see it. So, we do have all of the, kind of normal franchisee, but we also have a lot of small businesses here local to Columbia, which is fun for us to support. Like I said, being a student athlete here and wearing that tiger head on your chest means something. And we feel support by our local businesses and economies, and we love to show support both ways.
And what's your current tuition for the university? Being a state, college, is it pretty reasonable to get athletes and even scholarship opportunities on the academic side?
Right. Attending University of Missouri is actually very affordable. So out-of-state tuition ranges, it's at roughly about $48,000 a year. In-state is half. So that definitely makes a difference to be in-state. But one of the things that is great about University of Missouri is that we make getting that in-state tuition fairly simple. So second year, you need to provide residency, right? That's normal 12 months showing that you've lived in the state of Missouri, but then also earning $3,000 in the state of Missouri in an academic year, or in a calendar year, qualifies you for in-state tuition. So if you come in your freshman year and maybe you are out of state and you can qualify in that second year, you have some availability to become an in-state citizen. They want to support the students here. They want to make gaining an education available. College is expensive right now. So I was reading up on some just different statistics. We've got some athletes that are, thinking about coming in, and 4 out of 5 people qualify for academic aid at Mizzou, which is incredible. So just making sure that people know that if there, where there's a will, there's a way. We've got some different academic grants and aids that, are based on test scores. We're test optional, but based on test scores and GPA, right away kind of where you stand with that academic aid coming in.
Now, and that sounds good. I think at least you're the first university I've talked to that kind of mentioned that, where later on in your time there that you can earn a scholarship. Well, at least through residency,
In
I haven't,
situation. Yep.
yeah, I haven't talked to many other programs that have talked about that. So I think that's a cool thing, because sometimes, and I, I don't really know for sure, but if you're out of state, you could assume that you're paying out of state the whole time, unless you happen to get, scholarships either through being an athlete, or academics that kind of provides those.
Well, and I think that, I speak to a lot of recruits, and, what's important to you, finding a good, job. I want to graduate and I want to get a good job. And that's awesome. We support, we don't restrict what our students study, what our team members study. So we really do want to encourage them. If you want to be a nurse, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to, be a lawyer, we have a vet school, we have a med school, we have a nursing program. We're only one of 10 universities to have those 3 pre-professional programs like right here on campus. And so those are things that I think a lot of people don't realize about Mizzou.
When it comes to like degrees that Mizzou is known for, like what are the top degrees that people either across the country know, are prestigious if you get from Mizzou, or are even the top degrees that are pursued from both athletes and then student athletes?
Sure. Well, we have over 300 degree options, which is there's a little bit of everything. You can find a way to an end goal a couple different ways. So that's great. We also have 149 graduate degrees. So not just your undergrad, but pursuing and staying in Columbia and getting that grad certificate or a master's or a PhD. We have availability to do that here. We have what's recognized as the very first journalism school ever, and it continues to rank in the top in the country. So our J school is well renowned, and they do a lot. It's really cool. Missouri has a way of collaborating. We like to work together on campus, whether that's academics, working with athletics. So currently right now, our J school, our journalism school students are pairing up with our student athletes and helping them with their social media audits and helping them with brand awareness and building their brand. And it's great for our J school students, but it's also great for our student athletes. They get to meet other people and they get some outside advice, and it helps both parties. So we do a lot of collaborating here at Mizzou.
Awesome. Now, NIL opportunities. Is there, any big opportunities in that realm? And is there, a lot of, either corporations that you guys partner with to be able to provide some of these opportunities to student athletes?
Sure. Well, and NIL is fluid. It's changing so quickly and continuously. So I feel like as soon as you get one thing figured out, there's some legislations that shifted a little bit. So currently we have NIL both internally and externally, meaning our student athletes have access to and are available and are able to create their own brands and be ambassadors for whatever they choose. But we also have the internal piece, meaning the University of Missouri has earmarked X amount of dollars for each of our sports to help support our student athletes. And what they do in turn is they represent the university. So, currently we have some student athletes. We've got a booster event coming up this weekend, and we've got some student athletes that will go and they'll represent gymnastics with boosters, right? And maybe they go sign autographs, or they just mingle for a little while, or they show up at different tournaments or things of that nature. But it's really neat because we're helping each other. Obviously, the university is getting seen on different platforms that maybe, they don't have those reaches to. Our student athletes have a way of reaching tons of people on social. And so it's nice to see it work both ways and both parties feel like they're getting something out of it.
Yeah. Now, talk about the staff. We're going to kind of talk all gymnastics now. Talk about the staff. You had mentioned Shannon, who's the head coach, right?
Yeah.
And yourself. Who makes up the rest of your guys' staff?
Sure. We hired Lacey Rubin. She's our beam coach. She came to us from Arizona State. So this will be her second season. And then Jackie Turpak, who this is as well her second season, and she came to us from Arkansas. Lacey coaches beam, and Jackie is our choreographer and floor coach.
Awesome. Now, can you talk about your guys' philosophy as a staff? Like, what's your goal and your mission at your program?
One of the things that's great about our staff is that we balance each other out. What I'm really good at, maybe Jackie doesn't have as much experience with, or what Lacey's really good at, maybe that's not Shannon's strength. So I really feel like we've created this staff where we kind of have all corners covered, and our athletes know that they can go to each one of us or any one of us for any need that they might have or concern that they might have. So, like I mentioned, I was a club coach. I was not a college athlete, but Lacey and Jackie were. So they understand what that daily grind of being a student athlete feels like. Lacey has a background, in social work, and so she brings this just like really calm, positive energy to our team, which is obviously nice to have because gymnastics is stressful. We know that, but we really do work well together, and it's an of service mentality. How can I help you? What do you need? What do you we never are too busy to listen to each other. We're never too busy to want to just give advice. And sometimes, just being there and supporting one another or encouraging that, hey, you can do that. I think our team picks up on that we work really well together, and that kind of empowers them to work well with maybe people that are different from them.
And what are some pillars that you guys have for your program? Like for your athletes, at least, like what are the standards that you've set that they abide by?
Sure. Each team's a little different. And so this year we kind of branched out. We did something a little different. And instead of us telling the team, hey, these are the things that are going to be really important to this team being successful, that the staff came up with two, and then the team got to come up with two values, essentially. So, for us this year, it's all about GUAC, G-U-A-C. And the team decided that gratitude and unity were two values to them that like they really felt that if they could continue to be grateful and stay united as a team, that would help them be successful. And then we as a staff, our contributions were adaptability and communication. If we can get the team ready and prepared, but also get them comfortable in that moment of just being able to be fluid and go with the flow and adaptable, I think that's something that gymnasts are really type A. And so helping them understand that it's okay to have a plan, but it's okay if that plan changes, and go ahead and expect that plan to change, but getting comfortable in talking about that. And so they're prepared for that moment where they need to be adaptable has been huge for us. In communication, you hear communication a lot, but it's not just what we say, it's how we act, it's how we respond. It's the body language on the floor. We really, really try to lead our team by example and make sure that we're clearly communicating it. And that doesn't mean it's sunshine and rainbows all the time, that it's perfect. We want to talk about conflicts. We want to handle any sort of adversity we have in just a timely manner so that it doesn't grow or get out of hand. Because sometimes I think athletes or just people in general, you have those conversations with yourself, and it could be this big deal, and honestly, you just need to talk about it, and then suddenly it's not such a big deal. So we really encourage our team to communicate constantly.
And even growth. I think there could be a misconception sometimes with some people that assume that once you kind of get to college, what you came in with is what you are going to stay with. And maybe you may digress, but you may not, develop and get new skills or something else. You being a club coach, I know it's probably in your innate nature to always find ways to be able to, you maybe add a little bit of value, right? Not only in just cleaning up the skills that you have, but maybe, creating an opportunity to make a lineup where there might be a place that, there might be a need internally once you're already in, right? At Mizzou, do you guys believe in continuous development of the athlete in their skill progressions? And I know as humans, and like them as humans, that's a priority for you guys. But in the gymnastics sense, if I come to Mizzou, can I learn more skills? Can I add to the tools that I have currently? Or do I have to already have my 10-0 vault, have my bar, routine or whatever it is that you're recruiting me for, in order to have an opportunity with you guys?
Developing gymnastics, that's one of the best parts of my job, is helping these athletes find ways to get better day in and day out. And whether that's with consistency or execution, or maybe it is skill development. Maybe we are learning new skills. And we actually have a couple fifth years this year, which I don't want to give away too many surprises, but doing some upgrades, some big upgrades. And it was a little bit of a, why not? You're capable. We could say the easy, very basic stock routine that you see a lot. And speaking about bars specifically, we could say that way. Or Or in this last year, we could try. We can always go back, but we could try to get this big routine out there. And so helping them believe in themselves past what they came in with, right? Continuing to see, because honestly, yes, they're 18, 19 coming in, but that we can do a lot. Gymnastics has evolved. I feel like our equipment has evolved so nicely where we are able to do higher level gymnastics at a longer, period of time, especially in college. And we have 2 athletes on our team this year that are doing kind of the dual, right? Elite land and collegiate athletics. And that's been so fun for me as a club coach, kind of at heart, because I get that little bit of extra, I get that little bit of more, and then helping them kind of start building those bigger and better routines together as we build our college routines, as we're going through this collegiate experience together. It's been a lot of fun. So no, we want athletes that love gymnastics. I think that's the one thing that I want people to know about Mizzou is that loving gymnastics is non-negotiable for us. Gymnastics is too hard. If you are burnt out and done and just here for a scholarship, Mizzou might not be the place for you. But if you love gymnastics and you have, you can bring in some events that are going to help us be better, get better and be impactful, but hey, you really are motivated to get better here and here, we want to help you. We want to continue to help you build that progress.
Yes, and being part of the 2 biggest Division I conferences, both the Big Ten and the SEC, there's a lot of competition that you have, and where do you see your guys' potential as you guys look into the future to be able to compete in the SEC?
At first you got to get the right people. You can have the biggest goals. You can say that you want to win this or be there or do whatever, but you got to have the right people in place. And I think our staff, starting with our staff, Shannon's done a great job of connecting the staff and really, like I said, we complement each other really well. So we've got the leadership in place, and then by finding the recruits that are bought in and they want to work hard and their goal is to continue to contribute and not just, check the box, I got my scholarship. We believe that we've got the people in place. We've got a beautiful facility. We've got coaches that are passionate and love gymnastics and love their job and want to do whatever it takes. We're willing to do the work to get to where we want to be day in and day out.
And on the recruiting side of things, is it tough to recruit just because maybe people don't really know as much about Mizzou, even though they're in a conference that is pretty popular in many, many sports? Is it a tough place to get people? Because you had mentioned earlier that you have to come here in order to find out, is it hard to even just get people to come out or recruits to come out and find out, hey, this is what Mizzou has to offer? Because some of these other places, they're either being shown so much that people can go over there and be like, hey, I want to go to LSU. I want to go to Florida because of these factors.
Sure. Well, you're fighting legacy, you're fighting tradition, right? There are some historically incredible teams in the SEC, but I would rather compete with the best than be in a conference that maybe wasn't fighting for vying for a championship space. So for us, we like a challenge. We're confident that if people get on campus and they get to meet our staff and meet our team, if you watch our meets on TV, like our team is connected. They love each other. They are more excited for the tiger behind them or next to them to hit a routine than they are for themselves sometimes. And that comes down to recruiting the right people. But we feel like each year, you do better, and you are in front, you have that publicity, you are kind of in limelight a little bit more. So that has helped us. We finished, in the top 14 for the last 5 seasons, finishing 5th in 2022. So we're right there. We finished 11th this past season, and we know that we can be a top 10 team year in and year out. So we're excited to just get going. We're excited to continue to do the work and then just let our hard work show for itself.
And when an athlete says the reason why they came, what are the popular responses that you guys get? Like what went into their decision and why did they choose Mizzou?
I think a lot of athletes feel comfortable on campus. Like I mentioned, we have a very diverse staff and team. So not just from, what we look like, but from where we're from. So there's a little bit of everything on our team. And we really do prioritize, being a great teammate, being a great student, and then being a great athlete. And those 3 things for us are non-negotiable. We need you to take your coursework seriously. We need you to be a teammate. It's not about you coming in. It's about us and what we can get done together. So we take those things very seriously. And I think that that shows when parents or visitors come in on a visit or they're here for a camp or whatever, they pick up on that energy. And I think that's because it's genuine. It's not just, oh, cameras are on, or, oh, we've got to recruit in. That's just what we do. That's just who we are on campus. And each and every day we're aware of our weaknesses, but we're working towards making them stronger. We are not afraid to say, hey, I could be better here, or hey, I'm not as good at that, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to come up with a plan, and then we're going to decide to make better choices to get closer to our goals each and every day.
And when you guys are getting recruits, are you guys getting them from all different regions within the U.S.? Being able to hit the South or the Southwest, or, out East, the Midwest or the Northeast, or, Northwest, whatever the case may be. Because, knowing that you kind of grew up in the Midwest, and then you have some of your coaches who were out East or out West, and, being able to have all those different target spots. Are you guys showing that in regards to your actual athletes? Are they coming from all those different pockets within the United States?
Absolutely. It's actually funny. We were kind of looking at our roster just last week, and we've got athletes from all corners, like New Jersey, Florida, California. We've got a commit from Idaho, Utah. I mean, you name it, we've got it. I think we don't have anybody from Texas on the team. So any Texas recruits out there? No, I'm just teasing. We really do. We recruit all over, because it's less about like finding a pipeline and finding a gym that that their coaches are going to kind of encourage them to come to you. But we do have a lot of connections. I think with myself being a club coach and Shannon being in the SEC for the last 12 years now. He coached previously at the University of Michigan. So just having different connections with people, and knowing that we're going to take care of the athletes. We're going to make sure that not just gymnastically or athletically, but as people, as students, we're going to hold them accountable, and we're going to encourage them to really get the most out of their 4 years here at Mizzou. The coaches respect that. And so I think, as our results have started to build and our culture has continued to get stronger, it's evident, and our recruiting shows it.
And what is the competition environment like? What are your fans like at Mizzou, especially specifically for gymnastics? Are you guys able to sell out your arena at this point? And is that something that, if you guys haven't yet, are close to?
Well, we compete in the Hearn Center, which is a historic building on campus. It seats about 13,000, so it is a big venue. Last year, I think we averaged around 5,000 for our home meets, which was great. Again, SEC fans travel, which is awesome. So we've really talked to our team about energy in a coliseum or a venue. That's energy. That doesn't need to be for the home team or the away team. Like, energy is energy, and they can use that to fuel themselves if they believe that that's truly energy. So we love how much our Mizzou fans travel. Our parents, we've got a great group of parents, and they're really supportive. But being in the SEC, it's rare to go to a meet where you don't have fans in the stands. I think sometimes it's more challenging going to venues where they maybe don't have as big of a following, or at regional appearances when those are kind of neutral locations and smaller crowds. So we thrive on the energy. We love the noise. We love just the hype about it all. I mean, meet day is the best day, and we say that a lot. So, at that point, the work has been done. It's time to go out and show what we've been working on, and have fun doing it together.
And how can fans get involved at competitions? Is there anything, like, if an athlete sticks, is there anything that you guys do or you say? Or if there's a big routine, is there anything that you do? Like, what can, people who are going to follow Mizzou kind of already know? So once they go to a competition, they're already in to the know and can just jump into some of those fan engagements.
We're working on kind of solidifying some fan engagement kind of responses, like you said, like after a stuck dismount or whatever, a great score. But, definitely traditionally, MIZ, ZOU. If you hear MIZ, the only response is ZOU. And a lot of people, I'll be in the airport or I'll be at a restaurant or whatever, and they'll see the tiger head and you get that MIZ. So it's been a lot of fun just to know that we're supported. We have a huge alumni. There's over 350,000 living alumni right now for Mizzou. So our fans are everywhere, and that's so awesome to just feel support no matter where we are.
Awesome. And as not necessarily like as you're looking forward to this season, because I think, like you said, every season is unique. What is the one thing or the things that are important to you when you have a student athlete that comes to be a part of the program? What are you hoping, as a staff, or even just as a program, what are you hoping that student athlete gets when they leave? Like, who do you want them to hopefully become, because they're a part of Mizzou's gymnastics program? and the University of Missouri?
Sure. Well, obviously, gymnastics is going to end. So they need to be a well-rounded human. They need to be a functioning member of society and not just graduate with a degree, but a career plan. We have a great student athlete development team that works really closely with our team, and they help them kind of get ready for life after gymnastics. So, how to dress for an interview, how to write a resume, how to do, mock interviews and career fairs and things like that, and how to secure internships. So many times athletes are so busy that they don't have a lot of stuff on their resume, or maybe they haven't had time to do a traditional internship like some of their normal student counterparts would. So we've really found a way to provide that exposure experience for our student athletes in timely little segments that is still manageable, that they don't feel overwhelmed with their already tight schedule.
And you had mentioned there's a lot of alumni. Is there, have you seen that, jobs after, their time at the university, that you're, at least from the student athletes, that they're able to get, jobs in their field, or even just jobs that because of their tie to Mizzou? Is there a great rate of, degree to actual job for students and student athletes at Mizzou?
Sure. Well, our student athlete development team, their whole goal, right? Their whole goal is to help athletes graduate and either continue their education, right? Pursuing a graduate program, go pro if they're going to, choose a professional, lifestyle, or job placement. And so I want to say that last year we had 97% job placement within 6 months of graduation, which is huge for our student athletes. Now that's speaking about student athletes, and we have about 550 here at Mizzou. So a big range, and into all sorts of different stuff. These are not just kind of your general studies majors. These are athletes that want to be doctors and lawyers and change the world. So we're really proud of them, that they take their athletics seriously, but they're also equally as invested into their academics.
And then lastly, talk about your facilities. Like, what makes you guys not necessarily unique, but what facilities do you guys offer in your training space, as well as recovery, meals, all those things, your cafeteria? What is some of the benefits that you get as a student athlete?
Sure. Well, first, we've got a lot of support from our administration. Our AD, Laird Veach, has done a great job of listening to the head coaches and responding with what we feel we need to be successful. So our training facility is beautiful. It's a standalone building that is almost 20,000 square feet. We share with our Golden Girls, which is our dance team. So they're kind of to the left of when you first walk in. But we have everything we need. We have every surface, both hard, soft, resi, pit, you name it, we've got it for all 4 events. We are fortunate to have camera views from multiple angles for each event too, which is such a great teaching tool. So many times you're, as a coach, you're saying, hey, your head's out, or you're piked, or whatever it is. And then now you just pause the camera and they're able to see in real time what is actually happening. And so we really utilize our camera playback systems in the gym. And we have a great athletic trainer. Her name is Riley, and she loves AT like I love good cast handstands on bars. She is in it, and she does such a good job of just keeping us in one piece and also helping us manage workload and impact on the bodies, but she's available to our student athletes. So she helps them with pre-practice, about a half hour before practice, post-practice treatments, any sort of recovery that we have. She's always there with her grad student to kind of just help them feel better. We like to do a recovery on Wednesdays, which is midweek, kind of gets us going for the second half of the week, but that's a lot of individualized work. 80% of what we do is team-wide, but that last 20 is individualized to what each athlete needs. So maybe that's hip mobility or ankle mobility. Sometimes it's breath work or overhead stability with shoulders. So really getting to know our student athletes and what that human needs that day to optimize what they're capable of. Riley does a great job of that, helping our athletes recover. But honestly, being in the SEC, we are fortunate to have a lot of resources. I think the biggest difference between Mizzou and some of the other schools in the conference is how available and how convenient our resources are. It's hard to miss treatment when treatment is in the facility. They don't need to go drive across campus, park, go walk it out, then go, and then find the trainer. We have an AT room here attached to our gym, as well as another one in our student athlete resource center. So the resource center is called the MATSI, Missouri Athletic Training Complex, and that houses Olympic sports, but it's one-stop shop. So it's weights, it's strength and conditioning, it is student athlete only dining hall. We have 4 full-time mental health counselors that are available to our student athletes. NIL, Momentum Institute, which is that student athlete development I was speaking of. It literally encompasses everything that the students needs: academic resources, your tutors, your mentors, your academic coordinating meetings. All of those are under the same building. So it makes it really, really convenient for the athletes to walk in and handle a lot of business in one place and then be able to move on with their day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I'm excited for you guys as you guys continue on your journey as a staff. Your athletes really pursuing their goals and getting to the top of the SEC. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning in to another episode of Heated Conversations. Make sure you tune in on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Give it a like, give it a share, put some comments in, and as well, follow Mizzou, MIZ.
ZOU.
All right, go Mizzou.